Welcome to Nevada and the Flora of Nevada. Be producing videos in parallel with writing of a field guide to the plants of Nevada. Began 9 months or so ago. Started taking footage of the flora maybe 2 months ago now. And we will be traveling throughout the entire state for months and years ahead to really get to know this flora in person, in video form, if you will, and not just through a book, through pictures, through the literature, etc. So welcome, and hope you enjoy the upcoming tour through this pretty amazing Joshua tree forest in the Highland range. Before you ask yourself, why start here? Well, ask yourself first, why not start here? This, like some adjacent mountain ranges, interesting spot of Yucca sympatry. So Yucca brevifolia, Yucca shedidra living side by side with, maybe we'll call them co-equal ecological requirements here. But Yucca shedidra tends to stay lower overall than Yucca brevifolia. Never branches as much as Yucca brevifolia. Its leaves are much longer. Yeah, they're very distinct, so they don't hybridize. But co-occurring pretty robustly here. That's a robust Yucca shedidra out there, next to very robust Yucca brevifolia individuals overall. So they're very tall ones. Predominant plant of this region is creosote bush, Laria tridentata here. But we have exceptional density of Yucca brevifolia, Joshua tree. In this particular place, it's adjacent to a wilderness area, protected for its Joshua trees, so it's an exceptional area, without a doubt, to see Yucca brevifolia in such density and across horizons, really. Very few places on Earth where this really happens, and few places where they get 30 foot tall in some instances. Nevada, with its limitless mountains and deserts, is a rather windy place, as you're finding out right now, perhaps. Even the Joshua trees are swaying. That's a fact of life out here, and I would just suggest that possibly get used to it with me. I'm mostly used to it, except when it really violently shakes the tent at night. The ubiquitous sight in the public lands of Nevada is your average Bob's mining claim, which often manifests itself as a white tube as such. You can have no doubt that that's exactly what that is. Nevada, in terms of the people out here, in terms of the culture, it's pretty unusual, as some of you may know. It is a culture based upon the obsession of getting rich, more so pretty much anywhere else in America between the mines and casinos, I'd say. Spirit Mountain way out there in the distance, and the Newberry Mountains just shining in the sunlight out here. This is the real Nevada. These are pretty weedy, close to roadsides and other disturbance areas. One of the most precious commodities in the Mojave Desert is shade, especially below 5,000 feet in elevation, which we are here. So to see this Joshua tree projecting such shade at middle day in springtime, early spring, is quite marvelous. I am often finding this type of shade under a rather pathetic creosote, or maybe a slightly more robust one like that. But we have actual sheets of shade projected by the tall yuccas here. It's April 1st, but not doing any fooling today. Now with a global pandemic out there, not a good time for any fooling. So you gotta believe me when I tell you, these are some of the tallest Joshua trees I've ever seen. And I've seen some pretty big ones in the Inyo Mountains, for example. No tomfoolery. Seriously, everyone, there is 0% tomfoolery when I tell you that these are some of the biggest Joshua trees I've ever seen. Annuals have responded quite well to all the rain this spring, I'd say. They call it a super bloom of Eriophyllum and Linanthus right here. So there's Eriophyllum and there's Linanthus. So Eriophyllum wallacei and Linanthus aureus are carpeting this place. Might not be pretty to some people, but there's a super bloom here going on with Amosynchia tessellata in the borage family. It tends to thrive in more disturbed areas, so who knows, this could have been previous or maybe even current, for all I know, grazing land, but it is considered native and it is thriving in this spot, unlike anywhere else. Over the past 3 or so hours of walking out here, I have not seen it this proliferate. Ephedra viridis here. Ephedra is a gymnosperm, meaning it's more closely related to a conifer than any flowering plant. Viridis refers to its bright green complexion, if you will. A lot of the other ephedras out here a lot duller in color. Sphaeralsia ambigua starting to flower right alongside the ephedras. You know what that is already. The pherocacti are doing well here. Pherocactus cylindraceus being the biggest, most conspicuous of the barrel cacti in these parts. Often deeply, red purple tinged there. Maybe red we'll call it. And that has something to do with the cactus family making special pigments, special bright pigments called betalains. That's a different story though. One of the few orange flowered taxa of this region, at least. Orange flower is pretty uncommon in nature, so Sphaeralsia are kind of interesting for that. Every single dry sandy wash in these parts has a host of trees that look pretty skeletal, dead, bare most of the year. And Prosopis is a genus of Fabaceae, the bean family, that could be considered one of those. This thing looks dead as a doornail. It looks like has zero response to springtime, actually. And I don't know when it's gonna start leafing out and flowering and such. I've seen them doing it as late as June or so, farther north and higher elevation than where we are now. Another common skeletal looking tree of dry washes is desert willow. Now it is of the desert, but it is not of the willows. trick yourself into maybe even thinking this is a bean right now. It looks like it's produced legumes. They've split down 2 sutures there. Qualifies as a legume except for the fact that it's not in the legume family. So we have fluffy seeds here coming out of these capsules, we'll call them. And these fluffy seeds are typical of desert willow, Chelopsis linearis, and atypical in the Fabaceae. I don't think any beans have furry seed adaptations for drifting along the wind. Oh, but this one, I love this shrub ordinarily, and it's starting to leaf out. And once we have leaves and flowers, this will be one of the standby glories of the washes. The flowers are huge and beautiful as well. Don't know when that prosopis is gonna start coming out yet though. It's a bright sight for Sori hummingbird eyes. They come up from the south this time of year. It's Castanea angustifolia. One of the more common bright red paintbrushes of the lower Mojave. Seems like it's parasitizing perhaps a salvia right there and an eriogonum and other places. But it's clearly closely tied with some subshrubs, if you want to call them that. So a common constituent of both prosopis trees and what you might call the acacias out here, call them something different when we see them, but shrubs of the family Fabaceae at least get colonized by these mistletoes. Mistletoe is a term that refers to a lot of different unrelated plants, so we're going to call this mistletoe Phoradendron californicum. Call it a desert mistletoe if you want. These berries are bird dispersed, so that's how they get onto new trees. And they do somewhat minimal photosynthesizing. Remember when I was talking about the wind just a minute or two ago? Amongst these boulders, we have dwarf oaks appearing amongst the yucca forests, which you can see up on that ridge still. But here on these sheltered boulder slopes, we have a few shrubby specimens of Quercus chrysolepis, which is, to my knowledge, the lowest growing, meaning in terms of altitude, oak species in Nevada. Below 4,000 feet or so altitude on this ridgetop. And these Quercus chrysolepis are not getting much higher than a meter or two. Here's a Here's a really big one. But most of them on this slope are more sprawling outwards, more wide than tall. Here is Salvia dorii, a beautiful mint shrub related to chia and such. There's another one in full bloom. Smells nice too. Touch it when you see it. Here we have one of the only shrubby members of the mustard family that I'm aware of, at least. Very few shrubs in the mustard family either way. This one's called Lepidium fremontii. Up close to those flowers of Lepidium fremontii. You know it's a mustard, partly because of the 4 petals and a cross. Close-up look at that wood on that Lepidium fremontii. It's showing that the mustards are capable of making true bark and wood in this case. It's a member of the milkweed family, milkweed and dogbane family, Apocynaceae. It's called Amsonia tomentosa. Tomentose refers to the dense hair coverings there, pretty much throughout the plant. It's a little bit subshrubby, and we know it's a member of the milkweed family because it's hard to see, but there's latex exuding from the wound in the plant there. Here's what seasonal water in the Mojave looks like after a good month of rain. I doubt there'd be water here otherwise. Early springtime. Looks clear and delicious. I'll have to try some later elsewhere. Not a lot of shade here. Midday on the northern end of the Highland range. Unlike that southern end with all those Joshua trees. The next goal is that ridge, so it's going to be pretty interesting up there. Hopefully the plants are flowering up there as well. I know I know things a little higher up are not quite as active yet, so we'll see. We're in the same mountains, approximately the same elevation as those Joshua trees we had been viewing in such densities. And even from the last one I had seen probably just a mile away, they seem to have totally dissipated, leaving Yucca shedidra as the only. Rabbits freaking out everywhere out there by my voice. Yucca shedidra as the only yucca representative in these parts. It's strange to think about the ecological determinants of how Joshua trees are distributed, because again, I think they're capable of dispersing here. I think based on elevation and moisture regimes and slope and such, where I've seen them elsewhere, there's no reason to believe they shouldn't be here all of a sudden, yet they're totally absent from the surrounding slopes here. I bet they're nearby, but just tall Yucca shedidras here right now. The fragrances out here are pretty unbelievable right now. Super bloom of Camisonia, amongst many other things, aside of this wash here. Chenactus, lots of that, lots of Eschscholtzia, Malacothrix, Eriogonum, Spheralcia, got a species in the Polemoniaceae family here. This tiny annual is Linanthus demyssus, and if you're not really paying attention, it would just blend in with the surrounding rock and pebbles and other vegetation and such here. It's a somewhat riotous carpet of Phacelia here.